All right, I want to open up this Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session on November 6th at 10 a.m. Good morning, everybody. I'd ask Joya Goodrum to lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Any change to the calendar session? None? Before we get into public comment, I'd like to briefly talk about what happened this week with our sheriff's department and how it's a stark reminder that they put their lives on the line to keep this county safe. And even OSP was involved in that shots fired event. So I just want to make sure that they know that they're in our thoughts right now, and that what that department does and what those employees do and putting their life on the line, it does not go unnoticed. If you guys want to add something to that.
I would echo the same thing. And also I know that the families of I always appreciate when I hear Sam's wife or anybody talk about how they reach out, the mental health behind that. I know that that would have to be a huge struggle for families, and sending it, it's easy to say the words and putting your life on the line, but when it actually happens, it's just terrifying. So yeah, my heart goes out to them and my prayers. So
I just want to acknowledge that they have a very difficult job, and Detective Skip Jones and Detective Will Lavish really narrowly escaped being killed. And it's only by the grace of God that they were not injured or killed. When you look at the damage to the vehicles, it is truly, God's hand of protection on them. Early on, when Sheriff Elliott was sworn in, I remember saying to him and his wife that I promised that every morning I would pray for them and for their team. And I haven't forgotten, and I would just encourage people in the morning to think about our law enforcement officers and what they face. And these men went home to their wives and their families. Fortunately, we have Chaplain Leo, and we have the wives group who are going to be reaching out to them. They're going to be really wrapping around them with their personal peer support person who's on staff, also with Chaplain Leo, who does an amazing job, and the counseling and some of the time off and some of the work that will be done. So if you could commit to praying for these men and women every morning, and every night, because we don't know. We think Yamhill County and McMinnville is so safe. It's not. And we also have we have some very dangerous people in our community. Unfortunately, one of these potential attempted murderers is a juvenile. And so this is what we're looking at, out-of-county juvenile. So just remember every day, keep them in your prayers, and we will be supporting them going forward in any way that we can.
Thank you. We're on to our public comment section here. I just want to recognize that all of the comments that have been emailed in over the past week, that everybody's seen those and they're in the record. And we're going to start off with Beth Kaiser. Name and address, please.
Beth Kaiser, 1400 North Hoskins, Newburgh, Oregon. Good morning, Chair Johnston and Commissioner Estera and King. Thank you for this opportunity to share. I would like to share with you a sampling of some choice cases from March 2025 to November 2025. Kind of in light of what you guys just shared about the Sheriff's Department is relevant. These are cases of unlawful present nationals in our state and the effect it has on the taxpayers and the community. So I'm going to read a list. English is my first language, so reading some of these names, I will probably butcher them. I can't even say the first one. Irbe Mendera, Mexican nationalist, unlawfully present, conspired to distribute methamphetamine, guilty, 10-year federal prison. Angel and Hector Mendez, Mexican nationalists, unlawfully present, large-scale meth trafficking, guilty, 9 years and 7 years in federal prison. Lionel Hernandez, Mexican nationalist, unlawfully present, distribution of fentanyl and meth, guilty, 5 years federal prison. Zachariah, foreign national, re-entry illegally, failure to register as a sex offender, illegal re-entry, charged pending trial. Neri Soto, foreign national, sex offender, possession of child sexual abuse images, indicted, pending. Jazz Karan Sain, an Indian nationalist, unlawfully present, mustache house operation, guilty, 3 years federal prison. Juan Daniel, I think it's a very long name. I'm going to say Juan Ayala, Mexican nationalist, unlawfully present, meth distribution, guilty, 5 to 8 years, or 5.8 years. Juan Espinoza, Honduran nationalist, unlawfully present, cocaine and meth conspiracy, guilty, 11.3 years federal prison. Herberto Amaya, Mexican nationalist, unlawfully present, Oregon connection, DEA fentanyl bust, pending federal trial. Sebastian Perez, Venezuelan national, unlawfully present, possession with intent to distribute, post-overdose, pending in detention. Caballero Humana, Salvadoran national, prior deportation, illegal reentry after deportation, guilty, 2 years federal prison. Bexon Riviera, Honduran nationalist, meth distribution, guilty, 12 years federal prison. Luis Arredondo, Mexican national, unlawfully present, fentanyl and meth trafficking, money laundering, guilty, 15.6 years prison. Jose Alvarez, Mexican national, unlawfully present, 70 kilograms meth, 10 kilogram fentanyl, heroin conspiracy, guilty, 3 years federal prison. We're in September. Israel Garcia, Mexican nationalist, unlawfully present, fired at police during fentanyl delivery, guilty, 20 years federal prison. Luis Colorado, Mexican nationalist, trafficking fentanyl, heroin, meth, cocaine, guilty, 19 years federal prison. So there's more on that. I'm not going to read anymore. So the victims. So there's these people cause victim harm in our state and in our communities. An officer was shot in one of these, and the passenger of a car, a woman and a child, they were shot. And so what do they need? They need surgery, they need rehab, they need counseling, they need legal aid. What's the emotional cost? PTSD, loss of trust, fear. And what's that financial cost? 50 to 500,000, 20 to 100,000 lost wages. The homicide victims and their families. So the example, Cesar Morello and Maria Hernandez and an unborn child, they were murdered. What are their families going to need? Grief support, legal support, funeral costs. What's the emotional cost for their family? I mean, the loss, the grief, the family trauma for what has happened to their family. What's the financial cost? $7,000, $15,000 for a funeral, millions of dollars lost, lost wages. Overdose victims and their families, you know, the community members, what kind of support? Rehab, family counseling. We spend a lot of money in our county for rehab for people. And what's the emotional cost? Shame, stigma, secondary trauma, financial costs, $10,000, $100,000, treatment, for treatment, $50,000 to $200,000 in lost income. So children victims, which is near and dear to my heart. The minors that are shot, the sex abuse victims, they need trauma therapy, they need safe housing, they need education, they need protection. What are they going to have for their whole lives? PTSD, behavioral issues, because of the trauma that's been forced on them by these crimes. What's the ongoing cost? Who knows? $5,000 to $50,000 a year. Who knows for the counseling they need? Community and taxpayers, what's the cost to us? Tax fraud in one of the cases, all the expenses of our law enforcement. We need prevention programs. We need safety and resources. And the emotional costs, fear in our communities, mistrust, and collective trauma in some situations. And what is the financial cost? Who knows? You know, 61,000 for restitution. It could be billions for paying for all that's needed for our community. So this is just a sampling of cases that have been handled from March to today. And these unlawful present individuals have caused havoc across our state and other states because they were allowed to enter our country. And they stay here to harm and take advantage of the citizens of our communities. All of this comes at great cost to the taxpayers and great loss to those who truly need funding. All the victims, it costs a lot for these victims. There's a loss to our veterans because the money is going for all these other things to protect or defend or arrest these criminals. Our medically disabled, they lose out. Our mentally disabled, they lose out because their funding is reduced. Having had people in my family on these services and not being able to work and not being able to take care of their family because it's a pittance what they get because all the taxpayers' money is going to all these other things. These people need to be cared for in our society, not ignored and deprived of services. Because our tax dollars are spent on law enforcement, legal fees, administrative costs, and the list goes on of the expenses the taxpayers incur because of undocumented criminal individuals. Who will care for the victims? Who will defend the victims? Who will stand up for the victims? Not Commissioner King. He is advocating for criminals to remain in our country even after committing crimes against American citizens. And I find it disgusting. Commissioner King is speaking out in favor of protecting criminals, undocumented individuals, and he's gaslighting our community, saying that the boogeyman is after people in our community. How racist is it that he implies that it's the people of the Hispanic community? That's offensive and wrong. If someone is not a criminal, if they came to America legally, they have nothing to fear. This kind of rhetoric divides us. It weakens our community. And it insults every law-abiding citizen who calls this country home. We deserve leaders who protect victims, not criminals.
Thank you for that. Up next, we have Melody McMaster. Name and address, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Melody McMaster, Newburgh, Oregon. Hello and good morning. My name is Melody McMaster and I have lived in Yamhill County since 1981. And I'm a George Fox University graduate. Today, I'd like to share a story about my dear friend, Diane Walter Davis. Diane and I were teammates at George Fox University. She was an incredible athlete and a great friend. After graduating from Fox, she married Chris Davis, and together they settled into living in Newburgh, Oregon. A few years later, Chris was diagnosed with chronic progressive MS disease, and Diane became his caretaker. Even while working as a teacher and taking care of her husband, she continued to exercise and stay active. Diane decided she wanted to compete in a triathlon, but she wanted to stay close to home so she could be there for Chris. One day, while training on North Valley Road, Diane was struck by a car. She passed away within a week. That was in 1991. Back then, we weren't talking about bike or multi-use trails the way we are today. If a safe trail system had existed, Diane's life might have been saved. And I truly believe that building safe trails today could save other lives in the future. I've spoken with Commissioner Johnston, and we both recognize how fortunate we are to have the means and flexibility to travel outside Yamhill County to ride safely on trails elsewhere. Many people here work long hours or have family responsibilities that keep them close to home. They deserve safe local places to ride, run, and walk, just like my friend Diane needed. A trail system like the Yamhill West Sider Trail would make that possible. It would give residents a safe place to train, exercise, and connect with nature without risking their lives on busy rural roads. Commissioner Starrett, Johnston, and King, if you help move this project forward, you won't just be improving recreation and supporting our local economy, you'll be saving lives. Diane's life is not the only one that has been cut short while biking or riding on Yamhill County roads. Commissioner Starrett, you've often spoken about protecting property rights and ensuring community safety. I don't believe you were insincere when you ran on those values, and that's why I'm asking you to uphold them now. This property belongs to the people, the taxpayers of Yamhill County. Together, we own the 12.48 miles of land that the railroad once ran. Thousands of your constituents have asked you to turn their land into a safe trail, a place where families, children, and seniors can walk and bike without fear of traffic, while only a small handful remain opposed. The Yamhill Trail isn't just a recreational project, it's a matter of public safety, a sound investment in our community, and an opportunity to fill the promises that helped earn the public's trust. I can't think of anything more meaningful for our commissioners to do than to keep people safe. Let's make safety a priority in more than just one way and move this project forward, especially for people just like my friend Diane, who's no longer with us, for riding on a Yamhill County road. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ken, while we're on the subject, are we confirmed for December 4th in this room at 7 p.m. for the TSP public
I
hearing?
believe so. I don't know if Ken's done the noticing yet.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody online that has a public comment? I see 2 hands raised. Do you want to promote whichever one you thought was first? Good morning, Sonda. Can you hear us?
I can, thank you.
Hang on one second. We cannot hear you.
Okay.
There
Now,
we go. We can hear you now. Go ahead. Name and address, please.
okay, my name is Sonda Martin. I live in Newburgh and have for the last almost 25 years. I just wanted to speak in response to Beth Kaiser's very moving commentary, which I found very disingenuous and misleading. For one, I have never heard Commissioner King advocate for protecting criminals. So if she has the actual quote where he says, let's keep the criminals in this county, I'd love to hear it. Saying only criminals have something to fear is patently false and indicative of the usual gaslighting done by Beth and her white Christian nationalist crowd. In a September Guardian article, ICE gave numbers of 59,762 in ICE detention, but 16,523 of those had no criminal record. Being undocumented in the US is not a crime, and it is actually a civil infraction. Saying you have nothing to fear if you are not a criminal. No, more than 170 US citizens have been detained by ICE in this country since January. And many of them without due process, without being able to access their lawyer or any of the other rights provided by the Constitution. But, you know, if we're going to actually talk about people that have been convicted of crimes, and we're going to cherry pick some numbers from immigrants, let's talk about all the Southern Baptist people that have been convicted of sex crimes. In 1999, Lori Christine Rarer, a former teacher at a Christian academy, took a plea agreement for having sex with 2 teenage boys, ages 14 and 15. In 2002, Dewey Eddie White, pastor of Heavenly View Baptist Church, was found guilty of propositioning a 15-year-old. In 2007, Dwayne A. Whitmore, 66, director of the Anchor Baptist Church's Missions International, was arrested and sentenced for 2 counts of second-degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor. In 2007, Royce May Honeycutt, 63, a pastor affiliated with at least 2 churches, was charged with 6 counts of indecent liberties with a child and 2 counts of first-degree sex offense with a boy under age 13. In 2007, Brian Goodrich, a volunteer youth worker and Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary student, was sentenced to 13 years in prison in exchange for guilty pleas on 2 counts of statutory sex offense, 4 counts of first-degree sexual exploitation of a minor, 2 counts of taking indecent liberties with a child. 8 boys ages 13 to 15 who were part of a Bible study. Let's fast forward a few years. In 2013, Brandon James Carter was convicted in 2012 for abusing a 13-year-old girl in 2004. In 2018, Kevin Scott Hefner, pastor at Victory Baptist Church and private school principal in Ruffin, New York, was sentenced to a minimum of 25 years in prison without the chance of parole after pleading guilty to performing inappropriate sex acts and sending dozens of nude pictures to one of his minor female students. In 2019, Philip Gerard Buxton, pastor, Cleveland Chapel Baptist Church, gave a full confession and was charged with 4 counts of criminal sexual conduct with a minor. Those are all, I'm pretty sure, Christian citizens in our United States causing crimes and creating so much harm for their victims. Beth is especially moved by child victims and the lifelong harm and trauma that those people will suffer. Of course, we know all about Jeffrey Epstein, which Beth's Republican friends are all protecting. But let's talk about in Yamhill County. Let's see weekly arrest reports. What about all the citizens? Corey James Arley Barnhill, 41 of Newburgh, was arrested for Dewey on October 8th. Daniel Charles Bangle, 75 of Dundee, was arrested for Dewey. October 29th, Javin Quentin Lockhart, 21 of Newburgh, was arrested on a warrant from Yamhill County Circuit Court for assaulting a police officer. October 30th, Robert Francis Brown, 47 of Newburgh, was arrested for a Dewey. Nicholas Allen Hoddle, 27 of Newburgh, was arrested on a hold from Newburgh Municipal Court. October 31st, John Ray Hall, 45 of Newburgh, was arrested on a parole violation. November 2nd, Tommy Charles Jennings, 45 of Newburgh, was arrested on a hold from Washington County. Let's see some more here. October 4th, Scott Renee Welcome, 36 of Newburgh, was arrested for a Dewey. October 7th, Ronald Lee Hassler, 50 of Newburgh, was arrested on multiple charges of first-degree criminal mischief, first and second-degree theft, unlawful entry into a motor vehicle, unauthorized use of a vehicle in possession of a stolen vehicle. Abigail Lee McQueen, 41 of Newburgh, was arrested for second-degree criminal trespass and unauthorized use of a vehicle. October 8th, Christopher Stephen Baldoni, 32 of Newburgh, was arrested for violating a release agreement, unlawful possession of fentanyl and meth, and possession of weapons by certain felons. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And I'm looking at who are likely to be based on their names, since we can judge by names, you know, obviously whether someone's a citizen or not, according to some people. I'm looking at these very English names, and I'm seeing a lot of citizens committing crimes, creating victim trauma, and our county is spending money on all of these people to scapegoat one small faction. The majority of immigrants are not criminals and do not create the most crimes in the United States is ridiculous. And the way ICE violates due process, uses way more use of force than is actually warranted, and the way they are going about lawlessly is unforgivable and unbelievable. And the fact that people in our county are willing to let those folks break the law because they want to get rid of brown people or queer or any of these other sorts that they don't like is ridiculous. I expect our commissioners to actually stand up for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bailey, can you promote the next one, please? Rebecca Wallace, name.
Hi there. Rebecca Wallace. I'm from Newburgh, Oregon. And I'm going to read my public comment that I submitted, but I have something to add after all that lovely conversation this morning in public comments. We are not talking about American citizens who go through due process and are held accountable in our justice systems. For heaven's sakes, that's not the issue here. Someone said that the majority of undocumented migrants are not criminals. That may be true, but what about the violent ones? What about the ones who, with prior convictions, who have repeatedly broken our laws and are being warned where ICE is operating so they can avoid arrest? That puts every law enforcement officer in danger, local, state, and federal alike. Encouraging anyone to hide or run from lawful authorities is reckless. It undermines public safety and endangers the very officers that some of these same people, Bubba King, David King, claim to support. You can't say you care about law enforcement and then promote behavior that creates potential standoffs and ambushes. And to compare the crimes of citizens who are subject to due process and held accountable with those who are illegally here and evade law enforcement is deflection at best and manipulation at worst. This isn't about religion or compassion. It's about the rule of law and the safety of our communities. We can be compassionate while still expecting accountability. Public safety depends on consistency, not on selective outrage. Now I'm going to read what I sent in. And this is a dual comment. I did send it to Commissioner King and also Councilor Yarnell in the city of Newburgh. As elected officials, you each took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Oregon. With that oath comes a solemn duty to act in the best interests of your constituents and to support, not undermine, the rule of law. Recent public statements and social media activity from both of you promoting illegal immigration as the backbone of Yamhill County's economy are misleading and deeply concerning. While legal immigrants have long been valued contributors to our agricultural and economic success, conflating legal immigration with illegal migration is factually and ethically wrong. Data from U.S. Census Bureau and the Oregon Employment Department show that Yamhill County's economy is primarily sustained by lawful residents and citizens who work hard, pay taxes, and follow the law. Your promotion of posts that identify locations where ICE agents have been seen and that encourage residents to report immigration enforcement activity not only misleads the public, but also risks interfering with federal operations. And such actions may endanger both federal and local law enforcement officers who are performing their lawful duties, as we just experienced with that standoff that happened, where 2 of our officers could have been killed, maybe more. It also creates unnecessary division within the community and damages public trust in local law enforcement agencies, especially when our sheriff's office and police departments have repeatedly clarified that they do not coordinate directly with U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. This rhetoric also enables a larger problem: the ongoing hiring of undocumented workers by local businesses. Some wineries and vineyards, including local agriculture outside of that, restaurants in Yamhill County, knowingly employ migrants who are not legally authorized to work in the United States. This practice perpetuates a broken immigration system by creating incentives for individuals to enter the country illegally in hopes of finding work. If local business owners truly cared about the individuals they employ, they would partner with workers before they arrive in the United States to obtain proper documentation through programs such as the H-2A visa or other lawful work authorization processes. These steps ensure that workers are protected and that employers remain in compliance with federal law. However, it is often cheaper and more convenient to pay undocumented workers under the table than to follow the strict requirements associated with legal employment. I'm going to add something here. There's a very large farm labor contractor in Woodburn who houses migrants that come. He follows all of the laws that are required in hiring migrant workers. It's expensive. It costs a lot of money to bring documented migrant workers into the United States to work. But you know what? That means that they have to pay them fair wages and pay them benefits that they would receive if they were here legally, which they are, working. And you know what? I think it's ridiculous that local companies get to hire migrants that are not here legally and pay them lower wages, and they get away with not paying what it would cost to do business the right way. Those are slum employers, okay? It's just like slum lords. Both of you have repeatedly claimed to be nonpartisan officials, yet your words and actions consistently demonstrate the opposite. Councilor Yarnell built her campaign on the message of meeting in the middle and promoting unity, but her recent public statements show clear alignment with progressive partisan ideology. Commissioner King has also publicly declared himself a nonpartisan official, including in recent interview at the No Kings rally, while simultaneously taking positions and actions that reflect a strong partisan bias. When elected officials continue to proclaim neutrality while advancing one-sided political agendas, it erodes public trust and misleads the voters who believed they were electing fair, balanced representation. Claiming nonpartisanship while governing through a partisan lens is not unity, it is deception. Commissioner King and Councilor Yarnell, leadership requires responsibility. By using your elected positions to blur the line between lawful and unlawful behavior, you risk undermining the confidence in local governments, public safety, and the rule of law itself. Yamhill County residents deserve leaders who stand for integrity, uphold their oaths, support both the community and the officers sworn to protect it. And if you have no intention of honoring the oath that you took, each of you took to serve your offices and to uphold the constitutions of the United States and the state of Oregon, then you should both publicly recant that oath. Stand up today and recant that oath, because every single day that you post something on social media telling people to hide from ICE, you are violating those oaths that you took. And the people of Yamhill County deserve honesty from those that they elect, not the appearance of allegiance while actively working against the duty that the oath requires. Thank you.
Thank you. Bailey, can you promote the next, please? Ms. Moon, can you state your name and address, please?
Hello, my name is Tracy Moon, and I've lived in Newburgh for 11 years. I've heard Commissioner Starrett use the term error rate when it comes to SNAP benefits, and so I wanted to look into that and kind of figure out what Oregon's doing and where we stand. And what I learned is that Oregon is among most states that had an increased error rate due to helping more folks get food services during the COVID times. So all states had an increase in error rates. At one time in 2022, Oregon's error rate was 22%. And now it's down to 14%, which is really great news. It's something to celebrate. It's something to continue to support that work, that we get that error rate down. So I hope that our leaders can find a way to do that, to celebrate the good things that are happening and getting those error rates down. Talking about SNAP, there was a conversation last week between commissioners, or the last meeting, about in regards to a letter proposed by Commissioner King to the governor regarding food insecurity in Oregon. I heard Commissioner Starrett say, quote, "Well, I would say there is a big difference in regards to the letters talking about her own letter up against Commissioner King's. She said, quote, "I don't think that we serve anybody by the political vitriol that is in your letter," end quote. Later, she said, quote, "I'm trying to keep this from being a political vitriol to the governor," end quote. She said, quote, "There doesn't need to be any kind of orange man bad. Republicans are bad. This is all, because of one political party. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to get the donkey out of the ditch. The donkey's in the ditch. And we're going to sit here and play politics like we're accusing the governor of doing," end quote. And then she said, quote, "There's a lot of political chest thumping going on both sides. Everybody's blaming everybody else," end quote. Well, I searched. I was able to read Commissioner King's letter because he made it public. I wasn't able to read Commissioner Sterrett's letter. And I didn't see any mention of political vitriol. As a matter of fact, I really appreciated Commissioner King's letter. I especially appreciated this section. Quote, "We call upon your office to take swift and decisive action by providing state-funded emergency assistance to cover the SNAP gap for month of November and for as long as the federal shutdown continues. Oregon has a proud tradition of leadership and compassion. This is a critical moment to uphold that legacy by stepping in where federal dysfunction has failed our residents. To decline to act is, unfortunately, to participate in the same political games that have placed working families at risk. Oregon must not allow partisanship in Washington, D.C. to dictate whether Oregonians can put food on their tables. We urge you to demonstrate bold leadership and prioritize the health and dignity of working families across our state during this time of uncertainty." End quote. I truly appreciated that, Commissioner King, and I do hope that you sent along that letter. I would have approved of that. Also, I'd like to quote something that Commissioner Sterrett said earlier in the meeting, which was, quote, "There's 13 times the Republicans have asked that this," referring to SNAP, "be voted on, and we're not getting enough Democrats to pass a clean resolution. So SNAP benefits, it's not a surprise, we're going to end on November 1st. I'd like to be really clear about the fact that the government is shut down because Republicans will not honor their promise to represent their constituents who are demanding Republicans negotiate with Democrats to save their access to health care. And no, healthcare is not defined as a trip to the ER. It's very much broader than that. Commissioner Sterrett, you've proven yourself to be dishonest and a vitriolic partisan leader. Commissioner King, I'd like to thank you for your continued and steadfast support for marginalized residents in our community, especially our immigrants and poor families. Your leadership exemplifies true responsibility to the voices of people who live in Yamhill County. Thank you for using your elected position in a way that honors your oath to our Constitution of the United States and the Oregon Constitution. By supporting the community through education about Oregon immigration laws, such as the Sanctuary Promise Act, you make our residents safer. I myself am part of several organizations working to care for those brutalized by Donald Trump's corrupt ICE operations. While our community comes together bound through education about the law, our personal rights, and the rights of others, and the determination to take care of one another, our county will face this challenge prepared. Commissioner King, my confidence in your ability to lead us through this precarious time has never been stronger. Thank you for your integrity, for upholding your oaths, and for your unwavering support of community. Compassion is not a partisan issue, and maybe the previous speaker could use some. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all that I see. So we're going to move on. And we are on to E, which is department updates. And we're joined by Patricia. Come on down. Good morning.
Thank you. It's been a minute since I've done a department update, so.
How's the new digs? How's the new office?
Well, don't steal my thunder.
Oh, okay.
That's coming up.
Don't rub it in because we're still in the old digs.
Yeah, so no, I wanted to first of all mention my wonderful team that we have in HR. We have Michaela Moreno, who is our assistant HR manager / risk manager, Megan Marasco and Krista Stieber, who are both HR generalists for the county. One focuses primarily on leave of absence and background checks, as well as events and the employee safety committee. And then the other one is more focused on benefits and recruiting. And then we have Nicole Baraya, who is our records keeper. She has a title of office specialist, but she is very pivotal to our team, and it's a resource that we share with the admin team. So very grateful to have such wonderful folks on our team, and they do an incredible amount of work. And we are all now together in the Government Services Building. Formerly, well, I won't say formally because it is now our building. And, it's been an adjustment. We are all together now under one roof. And so when employees come and find us, it's been an adjustment, I will admit. But we are very grateful to be in that space. It is a beautiful space and very easy for employees to find us. So we do appreciate that. I'm going to speak a little bit later to our, kind of our goals and how actually being in that location has helped our goals. So, which then will lead me into my next part. So the main intro to my update is really focusing on what our purpose is. So human resources is here to take care of the human folks that work for the county. So that is our primary goal, and how can we do that? And one of the over 30,000 foot goals that we've had in the last year or so is to really, really focus on the positivity for our employees and how we can inject that more than the focus on all the stress. We are here to support our employees, who then go out and support the community, which, as we've kind of talked about this morning, is very stressful, sometimes dangerous. And so, in order for those folks to be able to do what they need to do on a daily basis, then that means that we need to be able to support our employees, to support our managers and leaders, and make sure that they have all the resources and support that they need to be able to do that job. We are coming up into one of the most stressful times of the year. When we look at, just the amount of stress, the weather, all the safety issues that could potentially come up, it's cold and flu season. So how do we make sure that employees are safe, that they're driving safe, that they are feeling safe, that they are not overwhelmed and stressed? And what can we do to help those employees access our resources? So in the summer, we had our benefit and wellness fair, which was, it continues to be the big event that folks look forward to, and increased attendance every year, year over year. And for 24, 25, and we've just learned for 2026, those benefit and wellness fairs are put on at zero cost to the county. So we receive a grant to be able to put those on. So fiscally, it's a fun event that is at no cost to us. For 2026, when we look into our wellness program, we are going to be splitting out the wellness and the benefit fair. So in January, we'll focus more on starting the new year right and how to help with the financial, social, emotional, and physical wellness. So I know everybody always kind of looks at, hey, we want to lose those 5 pounds, but there's also a lot of financial recovery from the holidays. There's also, a lot of maybe social burnout from having those family obligations that, while festive, can create a lot of drain on the emotional well-being. So focusing on how to really help our employees come back from a pretty tough season. Then with there's always going to be something, right, that we're trying to encourage every year for each of our wellness fairs. This last year, it was getting your blood pressure checked, making sure that you're checking your blood pressure. This coming year, it's making sure you know your blood sugar count. So diabetes, high blood pressure, and anxiety continue to be our top 3 factors for our experience when it comes to benefits. And so anything that we can do to help folks know and do preventative measures to have those healthy lifestyle changes in order to either reverse or mitigate the effects of those is just going to create healthier employees. And of course, that's what we're here for, to help. We have a new AP provider, which is Canopy. And we are looking at almost a 7% engagement. So with our prior provider, we only had between 1% and 3%, which is not bad, but not really a good use of those provider services. And our EAP provider provides services that range from pet insurance, mental health awareness, mental health counseling, crisis support, but also, do you need a lawyer? Do you need legal help? Do you need help writing a will? Do you need pet insurance? Do you have an aging parent that you're looking for care homes? So there's such a wide array of services. And so the fact that we're seeing those utilization rates go up is fantastic, and that our employees are really taking advantage of those offerings, which is great. We're also trying to really get the word out there with these benefit and wellness fairs about some of our really amazing benefits. So, for example, we have Express Care, which is at zero cost to the employee, and we can usually get an employee appointment within 20 to 30 minutes at zero cost and within 10 miles. So it's not always that effective, but for the most part, it has been pretty successful. And so really letting our employees know that we do have some really great benefits and how they can utilize those to really maximize their care. We talk about also, one of the big things that I think was of a concern was paid leave Oregon the last time that I came. And we do have approximately 15% of our population on some form of leave of absence. PLO and OFLA have continued to evolve in the last couple years. And of the 15% of folks that we currently have on LOA, we would say that about half of those are currently engaged with PLO in some form. So it is a big benefit that we see folks taking advantage of and helping. Next year, we do look to mitigate some of our experience numbers with making sure employees are taking care of their mental health, taking care of their wellness, and we're hoping that in the couple years to come, that will have an impact on our experience. So, and I'm going to talk really fast, and I'm not going to let anybody have questions. So you guys interrupt me if you do have questions. Okay. Recruiting. So everyone's kind of hearing, I think, the last couple years too, we talked about some of our big recruiting numbers. Krista has done a fantastic job with ensuring that our recruitments get posted really quickly. And we are seeing a big shift. We are seeing a lot of applicants for each of our postings. So this is, I guess, what you would call the employer's market, where we're getting very qualified candidates for our positions. A lot of folks returning. So, folks that may have gone to other counties and are coming back to Yamhill County is what we're seeing. So rehires are up, which is fantastic, right? And we have, I think a couple weeks ago, we had 4 positions posted, which is probably one of the lowest numbers I've seen since I've been here. So I think most departments are almost fully staffed, which is great. And teams are running smoothly, and that's a positive for the county. Going into risk management and safety, McKaylee has been working really hard with our workers' comp areas, and we actually received a dividend for 2024. And that was for effective claim handling, getting employees back to work quickly and safely, and avoiding injuries through additional safety measures. So I know she puts on trainings like defensive driver training, and we're doing our best to try to help with our fleet management in that way, making sure our drivers are well-trained. And sometimes you just can't help it, right? And at the end of the day, while we do want to protect those resources because they are costly, a car is replaceable, an employee is not. So looking at the big picture, making sure that we do have those resources. But again, sometimes there is nothing you can do. We've also been doing our best to stay up to date on all the changes at OSHA. So anytime you hear legislative changes, we're, on top of those. In fact, the team is currently attending a 2-day bully conference virtually so we can stay in the office. But yeah, we do our best to maintain and stay up to date on trainings for not just our employees, but also ourselves. So that is really good. And then with the recent OSHA up-to-date changes and trainings, really injecting that energy into our safety committee. That is something that we are required to have. And we've been really good about making sure that those are happening, that we have the quorums, that we're doing our safety inspections, including at our new building, and addressing any potential issues. So again, doing our due diligence to help protect the assets here at the county. And then finally, on a risk management and safety note, we have been issuing our quarterly newsletter that is full of safety and wellness topics, and that has gone over really, really well. We try to also do some fun things in there. It's not just, all reminders and, safety and health. We do try to do some fun stuff, including some fun things around the community that we want to highlight for our employees. We have also continued with this. And so when we take a look at our, our positivity message, how do we deliver that at the different levels, right? For managers, employees, and then also how do we stay positive as a team? So for our managers, we continue to look at different policies, which I know you guys were all gracious enough to accept them a couple times in a row. So yeah, we are taking a look at our policies, making sure that we're looking at relevancy for all of those and updating as we can. If there's anything that needs to be streamlined that is going to help our managers so that, they can better support their teams, we're looking at that. I know we have leadership trainings and looking at different formats for delivery. One of the big feedback pieces that I got is it's really hard sometimes to attend a 4-hour training on a Tuesday morning, especially if you're not working in the morning. Then you have to reshift your whole work week. And so looking at different delivery methods for this coming year as we set those topics and agenda items. But the training, especially for the leadership, has been well received. So that's great for me to hear. And then optimizing our resources, right? We have Oracle, we have NeoGov, we've got, different departments have their own specialty programs. So how do we really optimize those to serve our needs and maintain fiscal responsibility? So that's another facet that we look at. From an employee standpoint, right? Wellness, anybody who talks to me on a regular knows wellness is huge for me. I'm always pushing that aspect. But we've also looked at our new employee orientation and the employee life cycle as a whole. So making sure that we are positive, that, we are ensuring that our employees know of all the support that is available to them, whether it be, human resources, their leadership management team, if they want to opt into labor organizations, that we have all of the support available for our employees. And we encourage them to take advantage of it and to really educate themselves on what's available to them. And then we try to keep that same energy through all of the different life cycle processes of the employee all the way through termination, right? So when we have an exiting employee, they're either retiring or resigning, we want to make sure that they know, okay, so, here's what's available to you even at your exit. And in retirement, here's hopefully what you're looking forward to, and here's how you can maximize. There's wonderful benefits such as VIBA that stays with them. They do not lose that. So making sure that they're aware that they have benefits available to them that's theirs to use for life. And then also, I can't conclude my topics if I don't touch on labor organizations. So we do have quite a few. It's been a busy negotiation season. We have 2 in process right now, as you know. But really, again, how do we bring positivity to those negotiations? Clean data. I think one of my biggest things is making sure that we are all as objective as possible when we go into these negotiations, and making sure that we have good, strong data to support our position, and that we are as objective and fair as possible. And so, and respectful as well. So that is a huge objective for us. We have FAPO and YCSSA this year that we're trying to wrap up. But 2026, we have three units being opened up. So we have AFSCME, YCDDA, and the juvenile detention workers, who are all coming up for contract negotiations in 2026. So we are going to be a very busy team come next year. So any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You work hard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
your team
Patricia.
too.
Thank you.
All right. We're moving on, and we have a work session, and there's nothing there. G is consent agenda. I would move approval. Is there any further discussion?
Done.
I just want to call out that we will be adding Chris Mercier from Grand Ron onto the Parkway Committee, and that'll be a great addition for that group. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. H is old business. We have H1 is consideration of approval to submit a letter in support of Oregon Governor Tina Kotek utilizing state resources to back pay SNAP benefits amidst the federal shutdown. And this was we voted to carry this over from last week, but has anything changed? Did both of you guys submit individually?
I submitted my letter, yeah.
Yes, I submitted my letter as well.
So do we want to just remove this item?
I would suggest that.
I'd be happy to still send a letter. With the 3 of us, I think it would speak a little bit louder, but would be supportive. Whatever you 2 would like to do as well.
I think we sent letters, so I think now it's just more of a, I don't understand. It's a bit redundant at this point. We both sent our letters. And I do have an item I'm going to be adding regarding SNAP benefits and the county's response to that. So that's going to be an add-on. I'm going to walk that on. And we also know that there are going to be some SNAP benefits coming from the federal government. It's a reduced rate, but it'll be coming from the SNAP surplus. So it's going to be a reduced rate. But a couple of things regarding our response to that as a county. But I think at this point, sending letters we've already sent is a bit superfluous and unnecessary.
How do you want to go about just removing it, Ken?
If there's no action, you can, by consensus, if there's no action, we'll just.
So is there consensus to remove this item?
I still think that it would speak more volume to the situation if there was a letter from the three of us as one, but so I don't.
Okay, well, I'll reiterate my comments from last week, and that is, as long as the state and the feds are progressing in the right direction, for me, I don't see a need, especially when we can do it individually, since that option is still there. And it sounds like we did individually submit letters, so
Yes.
I guess I would recommend that we just move on.
Okay.
And there is consensus from at least two to move on, correct?
Or sounds like there's consensus, you know, again, without a motion or anything
Two.
like that. And no
Okay.
motion was made to approve or anything.
Okay.
No.
Other businesses, I1 is consideration of approval of a memorandum of understanding clarifying the anniversary date for step increases language for staff represented under the 2024-2027 collective bargaining agreement between Yamhill County and Teamsters Local 223 through June 30, 2027.
I'd move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
None.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I2 is consideration of approval of amendment number 4 to intergovernmental agreement number 168-20 between Yamhill County and Department of Environmental Quality, Board Order 20-246, extending the term dates through September 30, 2026. I would move approval, and if anybody has any questions, we have Ashley in the audience.
I have a question. Does it, because what I'm looking at says December, sorry, I'm looking at the original amendment. I'm looking at the original amendment, which was December 26th and December 6th, 2024. So yeah, that's the old one. I've got the old one. Anyway,
So we're good.
yeah, we're good.
All right, motion's been made. Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion
Thank you.
passes unanimously. Thank you,
Thanks,
Ashley.
Ashley.
Item I3 is consideration of approval of a notice of intent to award construction of the North Hill Road Bridge Maintenance Project to Bent LLC in the amount of $176,675. I would move approval. Any further discussion?
None.
None.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Chair, I'd like to include an item,
Okay.
and that would be item I4. And I would like to ask our Economic Development Manager to join us. A couple of things. Wanted to look at what the county's response to the interruption of SNAP benefits could be. And looking at the ORS for what those lottery funds could be used for, and in discussion with our administrator, Ken Huffer, that we are able to use those for perhaps supplanting some food bank resources. And that's what I'm going to recommend that we do. So a couple of things I just wanted to bring up. We've got, what, 200,000 in that fund, but I'm recommending that we take 100,000 of that.
Yeah, there's in the current fiscal year in that fund, there's $200,000 that were appropriated for grants, which of course, you know, the strategic investment grants, which we haven't done in some time, and that's at the discretion of the board if you want to use those grants. So there are funds fully appropriated in that budget.
Okay, so just a little bit of backstory about this and the rationale and how we could move forward with this. We got a communication from a National Association of Counties, the Federal Fellowship Initiative, and they sent this through, Gina Nickel at AOC sent this to us yesterday. And it said, Congress continues to negotiate a resolution to the federal government shutdown. Senate Republican leaders plan to abandon the original House passed funding to reopen the government, which would have funded the government to November 21st. This had been rejected by the Senate over 13 times now, and they're going to now pivot to a new bill that would provide more time to complete the fiscal year appropriations. So that would be, and we don't know how long that's going to be, but the newest debate is how long this bill would fund the federal government, either December or January. So taking a look at that, taking a look at the directive for the surplus funds to be, I believe it's $4.65 billion in federal contingency funds, which are in the process of being distributed, but that's only a percentage of what a normal SNAP benefit would be. Taking a look at that, we know that the governor has released $5 million, which is from Oregon funding, but that's not really going to do much. We also have an interim time where we don't know how long it's going to take for everybody to be made whole, and it could take some time. There is going to be a delay. I also wanted to bring you up to speed on where we're at with particular groups of people who are without funding. So fortunately, got to chat with and meet with the board of Northwest Senior and Disability Services. And I wanted to clarify that the meal programs and the home delivered meals for seniors was going to continue and that those programs are still operational. The money for that is coming from the Older Americans Act funding, and it has not been impacted. So let's take the senior component out of that because that was a big concern, taking a look at that. That funding stream is intact. Northwest Seniors does have carryover funds from the past fiscal year that would provide future stability. So for the foreseeable program, the meal programs that are serving seniors through Northwest Seniors has been covered. So let me put that one aside to talk about what I would like to do. And I would like to ask the board for the approval to take $100,000 from our economic development, from our lottery fund, and to direct allocations to local food banks. I know that we were all at the Grand Sheridan Food Bank this past weekend, and we saw just how judiciously they were putting together very healthy boxes of food. They weren't handing out money, and they weren't saying, go figure it out. They had a prescribed healthy menu and what would constitute a healthy box of food for a family, let's say of 4 or of 2. They've been working, all of the food banks in our county have been working very hard on that. So what I'm suggesting is a direct allocation to our food banks, sort of to shore them up in the meantime. The grantees I would ask, as has been done in a number of other counties, is that they confirm that they are Yamhill County residents. Because what we're seeing is if folks are coming from other counties to access various food bank programs, so they would have to be SNAP eligible, meaning, or SNAP recipients. So they are currently receiving SNAP benefits. They are Yamhill County residents. And then we take a look at the variety of food banks, which we have looked at. We had a lengthy meeting, talked about this. So Joya, do you want to weigh in on some of the things we discussed?
Sure. So I did read over Marion County's information that you had sent to me. And their contract is pretty lengthy. Put it that way, but it's a good contract. It's good information in it. When we talked, there were 20 food banks that we found in the CCO resource, and there are 20 listed. I think there are probably 17 that we could consider. One of them is Yamhill County Health and Human Services. I don't think we're going to be giving them money. And then there's one in Salem, and I think we should probably decide about whether Grand Ronde would be also receiving funds in, so it would either be 17 or 18. But they're all over the county and they hit every community.
Yeah, and that was important for us to even take a look at the smaller food banks. We know about the ones that we've had participation in, which is Dayton and Grand Cheromina, but, and then of course Newburgh, the fish. But there are also smaller food banks. You've got one in Dundee, you've got a couple of churches, you have the Lafayette Community Church, you have Love Inc. And once again, I think that they would be able to make sure that they're basically handing out food boxes, not financial assistance.
Correct.
So you're a resident of Yamhill County and you are a SNAP recipient. So I wanted to take a look at those and just ask the board if there would be, we can work on those contracts this week and hopefully bring something back next week where they would be individual contracts. Is that right, Ken? With each of the food banks?
So you're talking foregoing a solicitation process or an application process. We'd basically, because typically when we do this, any type of grant program, we would do some form of solicitation to like you were saying, the 17 grants. Are you interested in this? Here, if you are, here's what's available, and this is what the agreement would look like. Because we're going to have an agreement if there's specific requirements like you were suggesting. And so that way we can ensure compliance, that we're, the carrying out the will of the board, that if there's restrictions with how these funds are being used, yes, we would have to have agreements with each individual, whoever's receiving the funds.
So there's two ways of looking at this. I know in Marion County, they really didn't do that. They also have a separate program, an emergent economic opportunity type of grant, where they didn't really do a solicitation. They basically said, can you agree to the contract and the reporting requirements? I'm trying to expedite this. And I know that sometimes these things can take a while by the time we get solicitation. So what I'm looking for is input from the board on what you would like to see in terms of, I was just wondering if you were.
Oh, I'm just doing some math. Sorry. I'm
Okay.
listening to you.
Yeah, so basically, really, if we're trying to expedite this, I'm trying to look at the best way forward, and that's where I would like your input.
What does it look like? And I'm not sure if you or Joya know, but what does it look like, the verification process, if you're putting parameters with the SNAP as they come through? Let's just use Grand Cheromina as an example. If we gave them money, is that a fairly simple process as they go through to offer identification for SNAP, and then or is that going to be cumbersome for the food banks to process that information?
No, because I'm looking at, for instance, a number of them do have their asking for ID and proof of address required, income-based, proof of address are required in most of the food banks.
Okay,
So basically coming in and
so that process is already there then.
a lot of them are doing that. They're saying one visit per month, income-based, one visit per month, income-based. The EBT card is what I'm looking for. Is we've got SNAP, people on SNAP that are not getting their SNAP benefit.
Can I see your paper?
It's just the YCCO food access.
Yeah, can I see it? You mind?
I have okay.
You have an extra copy?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have an extra copy.
I don't have I can't
That's
give
the
you my-
resource page from Yamhill Community Care. So we would need to update those, make sure they would be agreeable to
Right.
that, and then also put some parameters on the timing. I don't think there's going to be any problem with them being able to purchase food and get that out the door. So anyhow, so just taking a look at that. We looked at some initial math. We're looking at about $5,500 when we started out for each particular food bank, and how many, food boxes each one is going to be able to, because they're able to purchase food so much less expensively than, for instance, when Commissioner Johnston is buying truckloads of food, as we've seen him do, and I want to talk about that later.
Right.
He's paying retail. Food banks are going to get it at the wholesale price.
Yeah, the only recommendation I would have, and the only reason I mentioned the solicitation, but if we have a list and and if the board agrees that those are the 17 organizations that would be reached, there'd be reached out to share a copy of the agreement, and they're looking at, I think it's 5,800 if it's 17 food banks.
When we talked, it was 18
It
yesterday.
was
but
18, but we,
After I went back
Right.
and looked again, probably 17.
Okay.
closer to 17.
So, I mean, it doesn't require a solicitation if there's agreement that these are the organizations to reach out to and provide, hey, we want to give you a grant with these conditions. Here's a copy of the agreement. You know, that's up to the board.
My only concern would be just the red tape that's associated with it and how they, I think Grand Chermina, they don't even get out of their car. So without knowing the 16 other operations of proof of X, I would be a little bit worried about that, but I know that $5,000 or $5,800 is somewhere around Grand Chermina's month of operation. So it would make, that money does go far for them. But that would just be my one concern is the red tape associated with it. And I would prefer to give them we're talking about lottery lottery funds here.
For clarification, when you say red tape, are you talking from county?
For county to them, yeah.
Okay, not from them to consumer.
I could think it would
Or
trickle
everything.
down to, correct? I mean, if.
Well, not necessarily. I think I guess we need clarification of what your
Yeah.
concern is to make sure there's no red tape, at least from us to the food
If
bank. From
we're-
there on,
if
from food
we're
bank to there.
If we're requiring the food bank to confirm that they're Yamhill County residents or something that, then, because not all of them are that way, that.
But it
add
sounds
the
like it's
burden
already
to-
in place.
Well,
Did
not
I
that-
understand that correctly?
Not to all of them. I think it's dependent. And I would just hate to add a hurdle to staff of a food bank if it's not already in place. If it's already in place, then there's no reason for us to do it. Is I guess what I'm saying.
Okay.
If they have that ability to be able to check to see if they are a Yamhill County resident or not for the next month, but if it's a small church who doesn't typically ask for ID or where are you coming from, then that's just would be my concern for a food bank, is putting that extra administration leave on it. And I know as a volunteer, you get in your groove and you don't always remember to do that. And I wouldn't want to put that burden on them.
So would you want to remove one that doesn't have the abilities to confirm that? So if it was a church that couldn't do it, do you want to remove them from the grant?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see adding additional red tape to a grantee for them to be able to get the $5,800 or plus. So,
Well, and that would be part of the organization is once we have a draft agreement, because it really depends on the requirements. I mean, we have some basic requirements that's been proposed here that'd be included in that. And of course, so 6 months from now, if I get a question, the board's like, well, I'd like to see reports on how the $5,000 was spent or how that was distributed and how do we know that it was complied with? We can come up with some minimal, reporting requirements, just a way to be able to, this is the requirement for it. Simplified reports. We're not looking for anything like we deal with all the various programs that we're expecting quarterly reporting and all these, we can keep the bar pretty low, and it's all really up to how much information the board wants. It's just the more requirements we build into the agreement. That's where a lot of the administrative burden does come in.
yeah. And you, like, for example, Newburgh Christian Church, anybody's welcome to come. They also use that food to feed people, I think 1 or 2 nights a week. Right. So I would hate to add that burden onto them if it's not part of their regular routine. And just having been a volunteer, oh shoot, I forgot to ask those 10 people for their ID, and what am I going to do now? How are we going to, if we want to enforce that, or, we're only talking about a lot of money, but to each organization, but I think to add that burden on them, I don't feel super comfortable with that. I'd rather just remove it. And if they currently do it, then that's great.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're all clear. Do you want the funding to still go to?
I want the funding to still go.
Okay,
I
even
like
if
the
they
idea.
can't,
I just
okay.
would like to remove.
I
the
just want to make
red
sure,
tape
because when you
of
keep,
removing,
when you say remove or whatever, I want to make sure we're all clear that.
that I
So,
want to make sure. Yeah.
I
those are-
think hopefully our next steps would be then for Joya to come up with a list that we all can agree on by next Thursday, or if it's through Joya, we can just give a thumbs up or remove one, or how do you want to handle that?
I think the 17 that she has is great.
They would have to come back before.
Okay, So I'd hate to delay that. So do we have a list that we can just review right now? And if everybody feels comfortable to agree on that, or?
A couple of things regarding Newburgh Christian Church and being familiar with that program. They've got all comers, anyone can come and
Yeah.
access food, non-perishable, hot meals. What I'm looking for is to fund the food banks who would then be able to supplant what SNAP benefits are not there. So there are lots of community dinners and things like that. That's not part of the equation here. What
But
I'm,
doesn't Newburgh Christian Church have a food bank associated with that? With their
what I'm looking for is, for instance, let's use Dayton, let's use Fish, let's use Love Inc. They have, in other words, they put together food boxes based on, I believe it's USDA specifications for healthy foods for a family. I'm looking for the food boxes that the purchase of those food boxes will come from the grant funding. I'm not interested in funding community meals because that's not something that in other words, a SNAP beneficiary wouldn't necessarily not be able to access those meals. So what I'm saying is we've got enough food banks that are literally purchasing food for the specific reason of making sure that families come, and they do have their own requirements. So the grant would actually say, as like if you look at what Marion counties did, they didn't make it this big, long rigmarole where we had to go through this process that took weeks and weeks. The object of the
Yeah.
game is to get this out the door.
Yeah, I agree.
And we're asking for people, who are the people who we are tasked with making sure that people in Yamhill County whom we serve, who are not going to get their SNAP benefits and are able to say that they are Yamhill County residents. I'd love to be able to take care of the residents in all the neighboring counties. That's not what our job is.
I agree.
So Yamhill County residents who are currently SNAP recipients, you have an EBT card that is not getting filled now, and you're in the hole when it comes to your food. You're only getting a portion of that. So that will get you a box of food that might get you through the week, and maybe all of this nonsense will be resolved at the federal level.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I think yes, but I think to my point is that if they don't currently, I understand that you're not wanting to do soup kitchens or those things. It's another layer, and I think that Newburgh Christian Church also has a food box program associated with the church. And so if they're going to go buy a bulk potatoes and squash and canned foods, here's the money, put it in the boxes. I don't know if they use some of that for the hot meals as well. I don't know how we would justify, putting our thumb on that, or monitor that as well. But what I'm saying is I don't want to put extra administration on a food bank. If they're already doing it, then that is great. Don't add an extra layer to somebody who's not.
We have requirements for everybody that we give taxpayer money to. They have to say, yeah, can you do this? Can you check that you're Yamhill County? You've got contracts that say that, and that is one of the requirements. We don't just hand out money and say, if it's too hard, don't give us the data. Otherwise, the whole purpose of this is to make SNAP benefits go a little bit. Go ahead.
Right. So the county is required to do a report of what the lottery dollars are spent on. So if we are doing this, then that's part of that report as well. And so we need to know when we give money to someone, what they spent it on. Does that make sense?
And that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That's all I'm
spending
asking.
it on food.
Yeah, I think I totally understand what you're trying to do. And I can appreciate both angles, but yours most likely will delay because if we go your direction, then I'm going to want to know more about who it's going to. But if we go Commissioner Sterrett, I think we can approve right now because she's putting light sideboards on it of requirements that I think will just automatically give it to where the food banks that.
And I can call each one of these food banks and ask them what.
Yeah, but now.
Yeah, when we don't
now
want to
you're-
delay, we
now
want
you're
to make this
back to
decision
delay,
today, not
yeah.
next week.
So,
I guess my only thing is if you're going to approve something like this and you're wanting to, and I understand you're wanting to speed the process just to get the funds out, I would just say that when you make the motion that you would identify, you know, one, you don't have to list out the organizations, but we've been referring to 17 food banks, and are all 17 fully up and running? I don't know the basis of the list, but that gives kind of that basis of that. The amount, you know, if it's just equally dividing the $100,000 amongst those 17, and then if there's expectations for sideboards, I would state that in the motion too, and then that way we can capture that in the agreements and we can send that out.
So we were talking about a dollar amount instead of because it got really complicated. We were going, who serves the most people? Obviously, McMinnville serves the most people, or Newburgh serves the most people. But we were really thinking whatever dollar amount we can get out to these food banks, the smaller ones, everybody, let's just say $5,500. Please make this go as far as you can to help our SNAP recipients. And that's really all I'm looking for, instead of it being something where we do government functioning at glacial speed. I think we can make this simple, and I don't think we have to make it complex. Because if you want to get stuck on Northwest Christian Church,
Just using it.
yeah, but I think Northwest Christian Church is its own, I mean, it's a very large and it's a very well-resourced enterprise. They get massive amounts of food, for instance, from Costco or some of the other, I'm talking about where we were on Saturday.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have a list, so it's hard to, glancing at it. It's a little.
And the other one that I would add too, because I think this is the challenge when we're doing, we're basically doing a work session and we're kind of creating something on the fly. I would also just add, if there's further, because I know there's been some discussions about what the funds are possibly used for, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but it's intended to get food boxes or purchase food to get out to SNAP benefits. It's, so that would be another thing to, again, I'm trying to make sure that when I start signing check requests and we start getting checks out the door, that if the board has questions about how the funds were used, that we're able to get that information and we're able to report back that we carried out what the board approved.
Right.
And so I'd say the more clarity, we can even go through and do the punch list on what are the basic sideboards, and then we can easily put that into one of our existing agreements and get that out really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to, what is the easiest way for the three of us or the county to get money into the hands of a food bank? And if that is a large one like Newburgh Christian Church or a small one like Grand Cheromina, that either is great. So I see this as a great thing to do for our community. Thank you for your leadership in it. I would have loved to study these a little bit more, but out of the sake of let's get something done.
Well, I don't know that there's anything to study. There are food banks. Those are the food banks in our community. And we're basically going to offer them some money to provide
Yes, I understand.
food for SNAP beneficiaries
Yes,
who are not receiving SNAP benefits.
Christian, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I just wanted to, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I would echo what Ken has said. I think what we've done in the past would be to have the board authorize Ken to sign these agreements, put the sideboards on. I did want to mention one other thing. If you've got the list of 17, you could authorize him to sign up to that many agreements if those different food banks are operational and can meet the conditions and requirements that the board would like to put on those grants. And then in the event that they don't, if you'd also like to make it clear that if, for example, only 12 or 13 or however many of them are actually active, operating, and can meet the requirements, then authorize them to distribute the available funds between those entities that do meet the requirements.
I think that sounds great. And Joy, if there is one or two that can't meet those requirements, would you send us an email?
Yes.
And maybe we can talk about it next week and figure out how to, if we can help them, if we're comfortable with that as well. Okay.
And is
So
this something that you would expect to come back before the board next week, or are you prepared today to
Commissioner,
approve and authorize?
not removed, let's, as a secondary approval.
Yeah, if there was something
Let's-
we were comfortable with, say Isaiah 58 couldn't meet the requirements,
Discuss
I would
it.
want to make sure that
Yes.
still gave them an opportunity to get money, and the three of us could deliberate on that. So, and a chance for them to, we would, another chance to discuss for one specific group, if that makes sense to you.
I'm not understanding.
I think, yeah, a good example, that I'm thinking is like Sharamina as an example. We know how close, in fact, Willamina is split, Polk County, depending on which side of the street you're on, you're in Polk or you're in Yamhill. And so if they came back and said, well, we can't, we want to also serve for the people in Willamina or on Polk County, but it says Yamhill County residents only, would that be something as an example to come back that we can't agree to this, but it could come back as a secondary discussion with the board?
It's a great example.
I don't know. That's the only example I could come up with.
And that food bank serves Grand Ronde, Willamina, and Sheridan. So we understand that parts of Yamhill County, parts of, for instance, if you look at Gaston or, so we've got that. So these are people that they serve on a regular basis. I think that's kind of a one-off, but I think it's important to call that out, but I don't think it's going to be a game changer for that particular food bank.
I mean, that's specifically what I'm talking about, though, of wanting to remove that piece of it so that it's not an undue burden on that particular food bank. So.
Well,
yes.
if they sign, basically, it's not something that they're not, they're basically saying you're allowed to have XYZ amount per month. They're already vetting recipients. They're not just handing out food. The food boxes are going to folks who can only access it a certain number of times. And I think everybody has to limit it because they don't have all the food they'd love to have.
What would a motion look like, or do you want to make one? Or?
Do you want to make the motion, Commissioner Sterrett?
Right. I would make a motion to approve $100,000 from our lottery fund dollars, which is Fund 226, and disperse it in a grant to 17 food banks in Yamhill County, with the sideboards that the requirements are you live in Yamhill County and be a SNAP recipient as part of the grant agreement.
And then you'd be authorizing the county administrator to sign those agreements.
And authorizing the county administrator to sign those agreements.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's dividing the 100,000 across the 17.
Correct.
Evenly, yep. Yeah.
Evenly.
Yep.
And the other thing is that we will actually have, do we have to bring that contract back next week, or can we just execute it? Can Ken?
Yeah, if you've authorized Ken to sign it and he has a list of identifiable entities that we're intending to enter into an agreement with, I wouldn't believe it needs to come back before the board, but I would want to hear from Ken.
Sorry, I'm still reformulating because I want to make sure we capture this. So, so the motion is to, or if you want me to, if you're okay with this, is to the board consideration to authorize $100,000 of economic development funds be made available as grants to 17 food banks. Yes, even I'm butchering that.
In Yamhill County.
In Yamhill County, it's dividing up the 100,000. With the requirements of that it be directed towards SNAP recipients, current SNAP recipients, and Yamhill County residents, and authorize the county administrator to sign the agreements.
And the list you'd be using is the YCCO food
Have
bank
a
list.
List that Joya has highlighted. Would you like me to read?
Right.
Is that helpful for the motion, or?
No, I
Or
think
just Ken can get with Joya and
we've been talking about it, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as everyone's clear on what that list is. Yeah.
Not a-
Okay, so we have a motion.
okay. Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
None.
None? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joya. You've
Thank
been
you.
very
You're welcome.
helpful.
Thank
We'll,
you.
Thank you, Joy.
we'll
Yeah,
continue
you can
to,
keep that. I've got copies.
we have lots of copies. We'll work on making sure got these.
I can work with Caleb and Christian on the
We
contract.
should be using our templates that we already have on some of those grant
Oh,
templates.
Yep.
okay.
We've got lots of them.
Perfect. Thank you.
should be
Thank you for your help. I do appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, Joya. Thank you, Commissioner
Thank
Sterrett, for
you,
bringing that.
Commissioner Sterrett.
Okay, up next is J, public hearings. There is none, which brings us to announcements.
Let's see here. Halloween this last week. Everyone had a great time. Sounds like it was safe. Rain held off for most of it. Thank you. I was up in Newburgh.
Depending where you were at.
Depending on was up in I was in Newburgh. The Downtown Coalition puts on a big walking path around the whole thing. The Kiwanis directs traffic and keeps everybody safe. It's a great event. I've done it with my kids for 10 years or so now. Met with Sam and Sheriff Elliott and Ken this week. We are trying to get plans ready to submit to for the courtroom remodel to try to be in the budget for the DOJ and with AOC. Also, I'm excited. I was chosen to serve on the AOC co-chair for public safety and veterans. So very excited about that. Move into that role next year. Was planning on speaking at a Habitat event in Newburgh, but last minute got canceled. Somebody got hurt on site. So myself and Senator Starr and Representative Scharf were meant to all be there. So hoping that the volunteer was safe. I know they got transferred up to OHSU. So yeah, kind of a serious event there. As was mentioned, the three of us were at Grand Sharamina, food bank open house this week. I love that group. I mean, being raised in that environment, and again, thank you, Commissioner Sterrett, for your leadership on that grant and just how to continue to serve the people in our county. I think that it is those organizations are really feeling this, and they live and die by it in their volunteers, and my heart goes out to them. Also, the three of us took our tour. I'll let you guys, this was my third or fourth time there of Tiger Manufacturing. So I'll let you guys do, but I still learn something new every time I go there. And I think Alvin is just one of the best guys of all time. Newburgh, Carlton, Dundee City Councils, Newburgh and Dundee were working towards starting to talk about water together. Love to see that conversation and just the regionalness of it. Worked with Carlton a little bit on an access agreement to the rail corridor, which I think is going to come to us next week potentially. And they would like to, they're also concerned with the speediness of our TSP, and I think they would like to convene with us before we have their council and ours, before we make any final decisions on that, as that affects literally through their whole town. So I think that we should be expecting a request from from them in the next week or so. And I told them it likely wouldn't be until after the first of the year, but so yeah. And wrap it up, tonight I got a town hall in Dayton at 6 o'clock at Palmer Creek House if you'd like to join me. And you have one tomorrow, right?
Yep.
So thank you.
Chair, if I may,
Yes.
because you raised a question earlier about if Ken Friday confirmed the planning commission hearing, and he did just email me and said December 4th is confirmed for the hearing.
7 p.m. this room.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, cool. Thank you.
He's still working on the noticing right now.
Okay. Commissioner Sterrett.
If I can, Chair, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that you're doing food bank wise. I think it's really easy for everybody to talk about the horror of SNAP benefits hold up. But I think what you've been doing for years and years, and what you continue to do, is pretty much over the top in terms of generosity. And I know you don't like to talk about this stuff, but I would like you to talk about the truckloads. It's not like you're bringing, and you bring cases of food and that type of thing, but you go above and beyond. You've got farmers in other states. You are working with, in collaboration, to bring truckloads of food for the food banks in our county. And I would like you to give some detail to that, because I don't know the specifics, but I do know it's pretty over the top.
Well, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like that it is solely me doing this. Some of the farmers that I reach out to actually donate them, like the potatoes that hopefully are going to get delivered today. They're donated by that farmer. It's just I'm doing the reach out effort to, hey, and do the initial ask. Garlic, clear down to California. I have connections to garlic storage in Oregon, but the garlic company down in California, they're more than happy to donate garlic. So it's just a reach out, but it's that company, literally named the garlic company, that does a donation. That'll be like on Friday. There's also some raw garlic that'll be coming in from different farms from around Oregon. You know, and I guess a good example is, besides me trying to connect those dots, and some that may not come to fruition, but I'm not, you know, afraid to at least reach out and see. But I'm trying to go for definitely the cheaper commodities that are stable. So I'm trying to find a connection to a rice farmer in California to see if I can get bulk rice, because I've talked to YCAP and they're more than happy to portion out rice. So I'm looking like at the farm level to save and stretch those dollars to whether I'm purchasing it, because some of them I am purchasing. There's a truckload of apples from Yakima that I'm still trying to negotiate. That one I will purchase, but others are these farms actually, when I do the initial ask, is they actually are like, no, let us donate it. So, but another example, even on a smaller scale, but huge community support, is when I went to the VFW dinner yesterday or the day before, Vicky Deerdahl with at Party Time Catering, she's doing a boxed lunches and giving them out at her location there by Thriftway in Newburgh. So it's stuff like that. And I happened to donate to that when I found out what she was doing. So I donated to that, because that's huge that she's willing to put in all that time and effort to put the meals together and then just give them out. And there's no restrictions on that. It's not, you know, show snap or whatever. It's come on by. She gave out like 42 lunches here just yesterday or the day before. But I guess the advocacy side of that would be, if there is people out there that are looking to give back, there's easy ways of, like Vicky, she'll take food or donations to be able to put these meals together for anybody in that community if you happen to be in that area and you want to support. So I do appreciate you bringing it up. And I mean, I've gone as far as reaching out to PGE, and when we were at Grand Sharamina and they said they spend $700 a month on power, I'm just like, man. Whether it comes together or not, I don't know, but it's definitely worth the ask of, what is there a program out there that PGE has that is specific to food banks? And so I'm working those angles, and I don't know, it's just.
Well, you're walking the talk, so thank you for being very proactive and generous. I just want to follow up with that. I had a meeting with Northwest Seniors, as I mentioned, talking about ensuring stabilization and continuity of services at the organization for seniors. And during the funding disruptions, they want to make sure that they are working with their contractors on these SNAP error rates, because if they don't monitor those contracts, there is a significant SNAP error rate in this state. They want to make sure they're not going to be responsible for any of that. Want to also mention, for anybody who's interested, there are 2 vacancies on the Disability Services Advisory Council. We had our Family Wellbeing Council meeting yesterday, talked about building natural supports for new families. How do we get the community together, like in the old days where people rallied around a new mom and give her some support? Also talked about with the Oregon Department of Human Services, the Yamhill Child Welfare Continuous Quality. How do we have more face-to-face meetings with families who are involved in the child welfare system? Also, education sessions on those natural supports for young families. And what else did I have? CCO, we had a joint finance and executive committee meeting talking about draft budget recommendations. Lots of CCOs in the state are struggling, and ours is no different, but I have great confidence in the work that's being done there.
Thank you. Okay, so Saturday, we had the open house at Grand Shermina. It went great. It's always nice to have those connections made with those different groups, and just the volunteerism that's out there, that the time that they commit to that for their communities is just phenomenal. And just a huge shout out to the Sheriff's Department. They actually, Sheriff Elliott knew that the open house was coming, and so they actually did in-house within their own office food fundraiser, and they ended up with I think a little over 100 pounds that they donated to Grand Shermina. So thank you to the Sheriff's Office for doing that. Monday had Dayton City Council meeting. They awarded a contract to begin assessment of their wells that are on the old purchase of the Fisher Farms, but they're just now getting around to getting funding from the state through Anna Scharf to be able to assess where they're at with those wells. So they've accepted or went out for bid and accepted a contractor to start that process. They also accepted their Parks Master Plan. And I think the important part about that is that, and I'm going to be bringing something in the next couple weeks to discuss what it looks like to have an access agreement with the city of Dayton for Dayton Landing. And whether that's a land swap for some other pieces of ground that they own, or if it's just a flat out access agreement, so that now that they have this in their master parks plan, they have access to that property so they can actually start filing for grants for that property. So I'll put something together and bring it to you guys within the next couple weeks. I think that's going to be huge for us, and it's going to be huge for Dayton to finally finalize what Dayton Landing looks like and under whose ownership. Tuesday, like I mentioned, went to the VFW dinner. It was very, very well put on, great food. And they're actually going to start doing it on a continuous basis. And it's going to be the first Tuesdays of the month at 6 p.m. Go to their website. It's vfw4015.org, and it'll have the calendar for those dinners. VFW4015.org. And also, like Commissioner King mentioned, we had a tour of Tiger Manufacturing. Thank you, Joya, for putting that together. It's the second time within a month that I've seen Alvin, and the guy, just the time that he commits to that is absolutely incredible. And we're watching him while he's like giving us a tour, literally like not even missing a lick when a kid comes up, hey, what should I do? Yep, go do this over at that milling machine or CNC. It was a phenomenal guy.
And the best part is he's not the teacher. He's just there.
Yeah.
They have their own teacher that he just is there giving, to volunteer and give direction and taking time away from his own business.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep.
And his equipment that he.
His
said
equipment,
here,
yeah.
it's a
Yep, using.
massively expensive machine.
Yeah, yeah. They have
Cooler.
right now. They're I think ADEC was going to help out a little bit, but they're looking to replace two milling machines to the tune of like 160, 170 grand for two of these machines. So anyway, if you're feeling generous, they're definitely looking for donations for that. Also yesterday night was the Newburgh County dinner. I just super big props to Newburgh on that. That out of all the county dinners that we've been to, I think that was the funnest, quickest. You were allowed one thing from your area to talk about. And they were I like how some of the people skirted that rule.
Yeah, some.
Yeah. They're like, well, I'm not going to talk about this and not going to talk about that, but I will talk about, so they ended up getting like 3 or 4 things in. But I thought it was very well run, and kudos to that team that put that together, and great food.
And Mayor Rosacker's comment at the end was, we really care about what happens in our city, but we really don't care about what happens in your city. So just go have fun and talk to your friends.
They had a quiz, Yamhill County quiz. There was a top 5 that got it, and I thought it was just very interesting. Kudos to Beth Witowski. She was like towards the top in the very beginning, and then I think Matt Smith ended up taking the top prize after it got to the last question. But it was a great time. And I just want to reiterate, and I'm going to spell this out for you, but Vicky Durdahl with the Party Time Catering in Newburgh, go onto her Facebook page. She has all of the information for the time that she will be doing the meals, and she has information for how you can help her out or donate to her. But it's her personal page, and it's Vicky, Vicki. Let me verify that real quick. Hang on a second. VIKIDYRDAHL. That's her personal Facebook page. It'll have all the information for what she's doing for her community meal service, and it's open to everybody. But the main thing I'd ask is just if you're in the area, drop by, get her some either cash to buy supplies or drop supplies off. So that's about all I got going. So, yeah. If there's anything else, Ken, Christian? All right.
Oh, we didn't say anything about Caleb.
Oh,
Welcome to the dais, Caleb.
yeah.
Caleb Raver is our assistant county counsel, and Christian threw him into the lion's den today.
I did. He bravely volunteered. Thank you very much, Caleb.
So hopefully you'll come back.
I've been meaning to reference this, but Commissioner Johnston's been too quick to gavel us out of the last couple of meetings. I did want to congratulate Caleb on recently passing the Oregon State Bar. So we're thrilled with that, and he's been a wonderful addition to the county and to my office, and I have already appreciated his good work. So
And
thank
what
you.
was the score?
Top class.
321.
And what percentile is that?
You don't have your mic on. It's down.
Don't mean to put you on the spot. My point is you did really, really good.
Really certified smart guy.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, now it's on. Yeah, it was up there. I have to see what the now, but it very blessed.
Yeah.
It was a good score. So
Well,
And,
we're glad to
I
have you.
have gotten a kudos from you from one of our department heads at how thorough you are and how good your report has been. So good job.
Fantastic. All right. Anything else?
Thank you. Thanks
Yep.
again, Caleb.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right. I'm going to close this out at 11:52. Thank you, everybody, for coming.